think I can safely assume that everyone here likes a good movie. Just a nice casual viewing, kick back and relax with the family or your friends. Good time for everyone. Well, today, I thought it'd be fun to get a little bit crazy and talk about a bad one. Let's talk about a bad movie. A lot of the bad movies you see nowadays, whether it be on Netflix or Hulu, you kind of know right away what you're getting into. But not with this one. When I first watched this film, I was anticipating a pretty solid movie. That would be an overall good viewing experience. And I definitely had an experience. For sure had an experience.
Time to wake up.
Like I said, this movie had a lot of potential. It had a $45 million budget and a plethora of A-list actors like Jennifer Lopez, Owen Wilson, Jon Voight, and even Ice Cube.
Let's go.
Okay, maybe Ice Cube should have been a bit of a red flag, but still, we got Jennifer Lopez, so.
Let's go.
The movie I'm talking about, as of course you've already seen in the title, is the famous 1997 horror thriller movie
Anaconda. When you can't breathe, you can't scream.
It goes without saying that this movie is, well, it's awful. But don't get me wrong, I do love it. It's genuinely hilarious, and that's how I like all my horror movies. Now, to be fair, making a monster movie in the 90s wasn't the easiest thing. Especially since the monster of this movie is a snake, spends most of its life underwater, while the entirety of the movie takes place above the water. All I'm trying to say is, it's gotta be hard making a murderous antagonist out of an animal that doesn't really pose much of a threat to humans in real life. For me, big snakes just don't really have that same fear factor as, say, the T-Rex in Jurassic Park or the sharks in Jaws. Sure, sharks don't really pose the most realistic threat to humans, but at least they actually have some confirmed human kills. More than the anacondas can say. I'm sure the producers knew about this, though, and they implemented a few key details in hopes of fixing this issue. They started by making it immortal, for one, then giving it a never-ending hunger for humans, completely disregarding science, and then finally they decided to make it fly. Yet somehow, even after all those foolproof fixes, it's just still not a scary movie. There's bound to be flaws and scenes that look a little bit off. The viewer, we can look past those. But this movie's a good deal past those minor excusable errors. Which means that unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, it just comes down to bad writing, an unrealistic threat, and this super creepy accent Jon Voight plays.
I don't know, it could be dangerous. You need protection? It's been a long time since I had a woman.
Fail? Who says I failed? I didn't fail. Snakes. I catch them.
But just because it's bad from a professional standpoint does not mean that I can't love the movie and make fun of it at its expense. So I propose that you and I embark on a little journey through this masterpiece of a movie that is Anaconda, and you will soon see why I like it so much. But before we do that, I would like to say a big thanks to the sponsor of this video. So the movie begins with a group of guys on a boat, and Jennifer Lopez. We have Smoke Show, Mr. Wow Man himself, Gary.
Wow.
Next we have the forgettable white guy who sleeps in the back of the boat the whole movie because he thought a black jungle wasp would make for a tasty snack. Ice Cube here, he plays Danny Rich, likely here to diversify the cast. He lives to the end, so good job, Mr. Cube. Next up we have Terry Flores, who's played by, of course, Jennifer Lopez. She's the Elmer's glue holding this movie together. She's the only character that makes the film really watchable after my boy Gary dies, man. Gone too soon, Gary. And lastly, the man himself, Paul Cerrone, played by Jon Voight.
Hold you tighter than your true love, and you get the privilege of hearing your bones break before the power of the embrace causes your veins to explode.
Jon Voight, man. His character is so unbearably bad that it removes any ounce of horror from the rating and just turns it into a straight comedy. His beautiful accent and luscious ponytail are just the icing on the cake. When I was looking through some reviews for this movie, I saw some comments genuinely suggesting that he get an Oscar for this performance. Alright, this is editing me checking in. I couldn't actually find the screenshots I had of the comments saying that Jon Voight should win an Oscar, but I found some other comments on Google about Anaconda that I thought were really funny. This first review comes from Steve Wanaris. I love this movie because Jon Voight gets violently killed and eaten by a giant snake. That's what he gets for supporting Trump and turning against his own daughter. Jerk. 4 stars. This is one of the favorite ones I've found by MK03SA 856235 Clareville, PS. 2 months ago. Ew, I don't like this film. It's really bad. Boo, 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 boo. 1 star. I love it. And the last review to wrap it up, Becca Dunayev couldn't resist from writing a Google review about the movie after she saw it. Sweet, I love this so very much. Yum. That's just how I imagine she said it. But yeah, that's about it for the Google reviews. Now back to the video. Just so you guys know, I did not rewatch this movie before making this because they took it off Netflix, so we're going off memory here. But do not worry, it is a very memorable movie, scarring even. So the movie starts off with some scenes to establish the true terror that this demon snake instills in everyone it encounters, so much so that it drives this snake poacher to suicide without even seeing it. That's right, you heard me right. The snake poacher killed himself after seeing a snake. Hey, what are you gonna do? But the movie does not really start until we see the face of this man right here. Paul Cerrone manages to trick a bunch of incapable videographers into helping him catch an anaconda, because he'll get a huge reward if he catches it.
It's out there, isn't it?
Yeah,
And you know how to catch these things, right?
that's right. But you can't catch an anaconda. By yourself, you need a partner. Capture alive? Maybe $1 million, Gary.
The crew catches on very quickly that this man is a psychopath, but he's also the only one on the boat that knows anything about their location, navigating the river, and the dangers they'll face, so they're kind of stuck with him.
As smart as you are, you can survive without me.
So as they float down the river at 2 miles an hour, tension begins to rise between the crew, and they have their first encounter with the snake itself. The snake attacks Gary, and some of the crew try to save him, but Paul over here values the snake's life far more than any human life and prevents his rescue. So unfortunately, Gary's now gone, and he took with him about a third of the pleasant visuals in the film. I mean, would you look at that hair? His death did lead to this amazing underwater shot that kind of reminds me of Han Solo and Carbonite.
Nice.
Before the snake really begins to grub down, I think it's important to talk about real anacondas. So they really only eat 4 to 5 times per year because it takes 3 to 4 months for them to digest a meal, and they become practically immobile for a bulk of that process. But no, not this snake, man. He's swimming like nothing even happened, and he'll be back to help himself for seconds before the adults even had a chance to sit at the dinner table. And guess what? He's taking your mom as a side dish. The crew rightfully don't like Paul after his preventative actions in favor of the snake, so they decide to tie him up. The next morning, the crew gets stuck at the foot of a waterfall, which is a telltale sign that we are about to get some serious, glorious anaconda action. While they are stuck, Paul breaks free from his ropes, strangles one of the girls with his legs, and pushes her corpse into the river. So as the 3 remaining crew members, Terry, Danny, and Warren, are trying to get the boat free, the anaconda shows up to best his last performance. The moment he locked eyes on Warren Westridge, he knew he was the one for him. Warren panics and scurries up the waterfall like a little mountain goat, leaving the anaconda in his dust down below. But wait. Somehow the anaconda is now at the top of the waterfall. Now, in my eyes, this could be 2 things. Either he's a supernatural snake who does not adhere to earthly boundaries, or the more likely option is he just watched the classic 1973 film Robin Hood and has mastered the art of flight in the likeness of Hiss. A true master of illusion in either circumstance. Warren makes a run for it out of the waterfall, and our eyes are graced with the true gravity-defying agility and strength of the anaconda. And that strike sealed Warren's fate, leaving just 2 crew members left to deal with the infamous Paul Cerrone. But apparently 1 human and the dead one floating in the river right next to the boat wasn't enough to satisfy the anaconda's little tummy, and Mr. Rich here is looking quite appetizing. Luckily, Terry has a gun and blasts the snake's head with several blows. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the movie ends. Sorry everybody, I'm just getting a phone call. Give me 1 sec. Yeah, what's up? That's not the end. There's more. Oh, Okay. There's actually more to this movie, guys. Did you really think that some buckshot to the brain would be enough to put down this beast? No, this story ain't over just yet. So the two crew members drug Paul and push him into the river for good. Take a deep breath with me, because we can finally start ramping it down now that Paul is gone and out of the picture. So we transition, and the camera then pans on a rope trap in a warehouse. And I want you to take a guess who's in that trap. You might be thinking to yourself, well, seeing that Paul was just drugged and that Terry and Danny seemed just fine when we left him off, I'll guess that Terry and Danny are in the trap, dude. You cannot stop Paul.
Welcome.
Paul proceeds to dump some monkey blood on the two in the trap to draw the snake in with them. The wafts of this scrumptious monkey blood make their way to the anaconda's nose and awaken it from its brainless slumber. It's time for breakfast, boys. The snake falls right into the trap, but he easily manages to escape and go right after Paul. And I'm just going to say, this snake in this movie is way too intelligent. Like, it's holding grudges and it gets its revenge. There are so many times where much weaker prey is at its disposal, like in this case with Terry and Danny soaked in monkey blood right next to him. But he still goes after Paul. Like, he goes for the top dog. It's not here for handouts. He wants to fight for it. At this point in the movie, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the snake just started talking, just full sentences. Like, the fight scenes and circumstances they find themselves in have been so outrageous up to this point that a talking snake doesn't seem outside the realm of possibility.
Let's go. That thing bleeding to the, you know what I mean?
Walkie slash.
Maybe at least some calling out in pain. It's already been making some very unnatural noises for a snake. So after long last, the anaconda actually eats Paul Cerrone. We can finally forget about seeing him again. So back to Terry and Danny. They have to escape the snake that's in this warehouse in the middle of the jungle with them. So the only logical place to go would be, you might be thinking maybe out the doors, but no, you fool, up the smokestacks, of course. Actually, now that I think about it, why even is there a factory in the middle of the Amazon rainforest? Like, what is it used for? It's the only building for hundreds of miles. Maybe it's just an actual Amazon warehouse, like Amazon.com, so they can get the prime delivery to the rainforest natives or something. I mean, props to Jeff Bezos. I guess there's some good profit margins to be made out in the forest. Anyway, so Terry and Danny managed to escape by the skin of their teeth out of the smokestacks, for some reason. And then the anaconda is launched from an explosion out of the smokestacks. You see what I'm saying, though, about the whole holding grudges thing? Like, Terry and Danny were out of there, long gone. But the snake persisted to attack them through the bullet wounds, explosions, and all. He's low-key inspirational. So the whole party's back in the water now, and Danny just kind of takes an axe and gives it a few whacks on the head and kills it for good. It's like all the fighting and shooting leading up to this was just loosening the cap on the pickle jar, and Danny was last in line to pop it open. Seemed a bit underwhelming, actually, and that's how it actually died. So the two survivors then head back to the boat so they can finally catch a breath after this crazy roller coaster ride and recuperate. Oh, and this man is still alive. No, yeah, he's still here, baby. He was just catching up on some much-needed Z's in the back. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the movie actually ends. There were ups and there were downs for sure. It was quite a journey. This film is probably my favorite bad movie I have ever seen, and I hope that after watching this video, you're inspired to watch it yourself in its entirety, because I can't do it much justice. For maximum enjoyment, I recommend grabbing a few friends, man. Watch it at like sometime after 11 p.m. It'll be a great time, trust me. The movie Anaconda seemed to have a clear vision of what it wanted to achieve. This big, scary monster movie akin to other successful monster movies of its time, but it failed in execution due to bad acting, a monster that poses unrealistic threats, and its most fatal flaw, killing off Gary so early in the movie, man. Anaconda never lived up to its aspirations of being a household name in 90s horror classics, but hey, they still made 90 million buckaroos, so... While I was looking through the cast of this movie, I saw that the anaconda is actually played by two guys, so I just want you to know that every time the snake is on frame, It's really just two guys swimming in a big snake suit. Man, the real MVPs right there. And that is everything I wanted to talk about for this movie. If you did enjoy, I have a bunch more videos planned, so be sure to subscribe. According to YouTube statistics, I literally have no subscribers, so do with that what you want, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.